And welcome in to the third ever installment of the Roll the Tape podcast. I'm Jackson White alongside
Aiden McNally.
And Jalen McKissick.
And let's roll the tape. Week 5 of the NFL was last week. Let's get right into it. Chicago Bears versus the Washington Commanders on Thursday night. The Bears win big, 40-20. They're now 1-4, winning their first game. The Commanders fall to 2-3. Justin Fields, a remarkable 4 touchdowns, no interception performance. DJ Moore, player of the week performance, 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Commanders struggled to an extent, had a good second half, but still lost 40-20. Moving along to Sunday, over the sea in London. Jags versus Bills. The Jags get the victory, 25-20. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 3-2. Bills fall to 3-2 as well. Lawrence, only 1 passing touchdown. Etienne had a day, 136 and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen had 2 touchdowns and an interception. No rushing game for the Bills. Their leading rusher was 14 yards for Josh Allen. Moving along to the 1 o'clock game, Saints-Patriots. Saints pick up the big victory, 34-0. Saints now over 500, 3-2. Patriots 1-4, their worst start in the Bill Belichick era. The Patriots have scored 3 points in the last 2 games. Is it time to sound the alarm? We'll talk about it in a minute. Derek Carr, 2 touchdowns, 183 passing. Saints beat the Patriots. Moving along, Colts versus Titans. Colts get the victory, 23-16. The Colts now above 500, 3-2. The Titans fall below it, being 2-3. Anthony Richardson goes out with an injury in the second quarter, finishes with 98 yards. The Colts still pull it out with Gardner Minshew. He will be the starter for the next few weeks. Anthony Richardson going to IR. Big movers. Jonathan Taylor comes back into the lineup after signing the extension. Only has 16 yards. Zack continues his good play, 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Titans, Derrick Henry struggles, 43 yards. Ryan Tannehill couldn't find the end zone. Had an interception, though, with 264 yards passing. Moving along, Steelers versus Ravens. Divisional battle here. Steelers get the big victory, 17-10. Defensive battle. Steelers now 3-2. Ravens 3-2 as well. Kenny Pickett, 1 passing touchdown on the day, a game winner to George Pickens to win the ball game. Other than that, nothing really too crazy. Lamar Jackson kind of struggled, had 2 fumbles, threw an interception. Steelers over the Ravens. Moving along, Panthers versus Lions. Lions pick up the big victory, 42-24. Panthers 0-4. Lions now 4-1. Jared Goff had himself a day once again, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 236 passing. And the Panthers, even though Bryce Young, 3 touchdowns, which is his career high, 2 interceptions, they fall to 0-5. Moving along, Falcons versus Texans, 2 young teams. The Falcons get the victory, 21-19. Falcons now 3-2. Texans 2-3. C.J. Stroud, no interceptions once again, 249 passing. Couldn't get it done, though. They lose the game. Desmond Ridder, 1 touchdown, 329 passing. And the Falcons above 500 for that one. Moving along, Dolphins versus Giants. Dolphins pick up another victory, 31-16. Dolphins now 4-1. The Giants 1-4. A playoff team to now being 1-4. Daniel Jones only at 119 yards passing. Tyrod Taylor came in the fourth quarter to relieve Jones. And for the Dolphins, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 308. Devon A-Chain, another phenomenal game, 151 yards, a touchdown, 11 carries. Sad news for A-Chain. He went on IR after this one. He'll miss the next 4. Raheem Mostert will be most likely the bell cow back for the Dolphins going on. He had 65 yards in this one. Moving along, Bengals versus Cardinals. Bengals pick up the victory. They've won 2 straight, 34 to 20. Cardinals now fall to 1-4. Joe Burrow finally had himself a good game, 317 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception. And Jamar Chase, another player of the week contender, 192, 3 touchdowns, 15 receptions. Jamar Chase, have a day. Josh Dobbs, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 166 yards passing. And really nothing too much to talk about other than the Cardinals losing. They're now 1-4. Bengals looking to get back on it. We'll talk about it in a minute. Going along, Eagles versus Rams. This is one of those games that a lot of people paid attention to. The Eagles do win, though, 23-14. Eagles now 5-0. The Rams fall to 2-3. Jalen Hurts, 303 passing yards. He had a rushing touchdown as well. For the Rams, Matthew Stafford played well, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp's first game back had 118 yards. Puka Nacua, a guy who said would fall off once Cup comes back. He still had 7 receptions for a touchdown and 71 yards as well. Moving along, Jets versus Broncos. The Jets get a big victory, 31-21. The Jets now 2-3 on the year. Broncos 1-4, and a team that was supposed to be playoff bound. And the Broncos 1-4. Interesting look. Zach Wilson, no touchdowns and interception, 200 yards passing. To Breece Hall, player of the week for the Jets, 177 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. Dalvin Cook, only 6 touches in the rushing game for 23 yards. Wilson, 2 touchdowns, 196. And really nothing else to say about that. The Broncos defense struggles once again, loses in the game. They are now 1-4. Moving on, the Chiefs versus the Vikings. Chiefs win 27-20. The Chiefs now 4-1. The Vikings fall to 1-4. Bad news for the Vikings. Receiver for them, Justin Jefferson, obviously one of the best in the league, going on IR, so he will miss the next 4. Kirk Cousins had 2 passing touchdowns in this one. Really no rushing attack. Cam Akers and Alexander Madison really struggled, really only having combined 35 yards. Mahomes struggled in the first half. This was a low-scoring game. 2 touchdowns, though, in the second half. Chiefs pick up the big victory. Moving along, Sunday Night Football, Niners versus Cowboys. In a blowout fashion, the Niners get the victory to improve to 5-0. The Cowboys score 10. They're now 3-2. Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions in the second half, having the 49ers scoring 21 points in the second half to 3 points for the Cowboys. Another great game for Brock Purdy, 252 passing, 4 touchdowns. Is he an MVP candidate? We'll talk about it in a minute. But overall, good game for the 49ers. Then going on to Monday Night Football, a revenge game for Davante Adams as the Raiders took on the Packers, and the Raiders picked up the victory, 17-13 for the Raiders. Obviously, Garoppolo had a passing touchdown, 208 and a touchdown. And the revenge game for Adams did not go strong. 4 receptions, 45 yards, no touchdowns. Jacoby Myers was the leading receiver for the Raiders with 7 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs also had a 1 touchdown on the ground. Jordan Love struggled, 182 passing yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. So that's something to think about as well. But that wraps up all of the NFL Week 5 games. I'll now welcome in my 2 co-hosts as well to talk about the San Francisco 49ers, a team that is 5-0 who just smacked up on the Dallas Cowboys. Are they the favorite?
They've got to be the favorite. I mean, you look from top to bottom. From top to bottom, they have probably the best roster. I'm going to say the best roster in the league. I mean, from the defensive side, from the D-line to the O-line to the linebackers to the DBs to even the quarterback, who was the biggest question coming into this year, was whether or not Brock Purdy was going to be a guy that you can lean on and not just be in the offense, but become the offense. And he has proven that he is more than what they expected him to be. He is the guy for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Brock Purdy, I mean, this is a guy that's 12-0 whenever he starts and finishes a game. I don't know if there are any more question marks about this guy. He's done enough. This is a guy who brought the 49ers to the playoffs and, I mean, went relatively far in the playoffs for his circumstances.
I think they would have beat the Eagles if he didn't get hurt.
I agree. It would have been close. But, I mean, week 1, they win by 23. Week 2, they get a win against only by 1 possession, but it was against their division rivals, the Rams. So that's always going to be a close game. Those divisional rival games are always close. Then they smack the Giants 30-12, as we remember. They smack the Arizona Cardinals. And then Dallas Cowboys, 42-10. This Dallas Cowboys team is a team that we had on our favorites, on our contenders list for the NFC last week on this podcast. They just embarrassed them. Now, they're really yet to hit a road streak. They started out the first 2 games on the road, but they've been home for the past 3 weeks. So we really don't know what it's going to look like whenever they start hitting road, home, stuff like that. So that might come into factor a little bit. But other than that, I don't see anything that's really stopping this team. Everything's clicking on all ends. Defense, obviously the best in the league. Brandon Ayuk is probably going to be fully healthy this next week. You have Debo, Kittle, obviously CMC, Trent Williams. What will go wrong with this team? I don't know.
I think the only thing that can stop this team is either themselves or injuries. Other than that, I think that they go all the way in the NFC.
Yeah.
Well, this team, to look at it, obviously Brock Purdy's a guy that is playing well. On the season, he has 9 passing touchdowns and no interceptions, 1,200 yards, 72% completion percentage. He looks good. He does. But obviously McCaffrey, 510 yards in 5 games, averaging over 100 a game, 7 touchdowns. He's going to have a phenomenal season. Statistically, he's going to have over 1,500 yards if he keeps it up.
Definitely.
So this team, they look good, but I think we're forgetting about the other 5-0 team in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that almost matches everything the Niners have. I would say the Niners have better skill position players, but the Eagles, I would say, have a better receiving core. And obviously what? Don't look at me like that.
Oh, no, I was just thinking about it.
I mean, the Eagles have a better receiving core.
Yeah.
They have the better. I mean, A.J. Brown and is just.
They probably have the best receiving core in the league.
I think they're up there with the Bengals, to say the least. But the Niners are a team that, like you said, the only way they lose is if they beat themselves. And if they don't beat themselves, they're going to smooth on straight there. But this team is the same team they've been the past couple of years. They're always a great regular season team, really good coached. But how many championships have they won? None. They went to a Super Bowl. Obviously, they lost. But this is a team that I'm not going to buy in all the way to the 49ers until they prove it in the playoffs. And that means making it to a Super Bowl and winning it. Because, I mean, they've always been a great regular season team. And we're still in the regular season. Obviously, Brock Purdy is a guy who is 12-0 in the regular season. 12-0 in games he doesn't get hurt in. So, I mean, he's a phenomenal player, but is he a guy that can go out and win you a Super Bowl? And that's what I think everyone's waiting for, Brock Purdy just to fail. And will he fail? I guess we'll see. But he's a guy that everyone's like, I don't know. I mean, he's Brock Purdy. I mean, he's just okay. He's just mid, as some would say. But the statistics show he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. Is he? Probably not.
No.
But in this system, he is.
I mean,
Yeah.
And the question you have to ask for yourself is Brock Purdy an MVP candidate?
Dark horse, yeah. I think he has to be. With
I
a
mean,
5-0 team.
9-0, no interceptions, you said?
Yeah.
I mean,
Just imagine Brock Purdy MVP.
MVP.
seven,
Mr. Irrelevant.
A second-year guy who was the last pick in the draft being MVP. It's unheard of and it's crazy. Will it happen?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably
But
not.
if the Niners keep on winning games like this and he keeps on putting statistics up that he's been putting up,
he'll be up there.
I mean, you're going to have to because it's going to go to a quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, you
the
could say
MVP always goes to
McCaffrey
a quarterback.
MVP, but will it go to a running back in this modern age NFL? No.
No, in the NFL,
Especially with these dual threat QBs nowadays that we're seeing that. I mean, Justin Fields is a guy who rushed over 1,000 yards last year as a quarterback. I mean, all these dual threat QBs, it's going to make it harder for other skill positions to win MVP. I mean, I think it's got to be a quarterback now.
yeah, the MVP is definitely a quarterback award. And the Offensive Player of the Year is usually for more of like the skill positions, like the wide receivers, the running backs of the world. But the MVP has always been, and probably will always continue to be, a quarterback award.
I agree. I mean, but you said, like, will Brock Purdy contend, deep into the playoffs? We don't know yet because the last time we saw him in the playoffs, he was facing an Eagles team that lost to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl by 3 that came down to a last play. Brock Purdy, if he weren't to get injured, who knows? The 49ers might be hoisting a Super Bowl last year.
And he did look good in the playoff games that he played before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Mind you, before he got hurt, he was still playing good in the postseason game prior to that. So I think that they would have beaten the Eagles had he not gotten hurt. But that's just speculation. You never know what could happen on a football field.
Yeah, and I mean, did he look uncomfortable in the playoffs last year? Absolutely, but this is a second-year guy who's taking a sophomore leap, second year in the offense, got his surgery, he's ready to go. I don't know. I'm high on Brock Purdy. I think he might be able to bring one home for San Fran.
I guess we'll have to see. Moving along, the New England Patriots, a team that obviously the last 25 years has been atop the mountain. 6-time world champions. Well, they're at the bottom of the mountain now.
Very bottom.
The New England Patriots have scored 3 points in the last 2 games. They're 1-4. Mac Jones has got benched in consecutive games. What should the New England Patriots do about Mac Jones?
I think at this point, you gotta just roll with it and see, and just at this point, just see what Mac Jones can do for the rest of the season. I mean, do you bench him? I don't know, because does Bailey Zappi really move the needle for you? I don't think he does.
Well, I think if you're the New England Patriots, you sit in a position now that you have your first-round pick, of course. But, I mean, it's just they're not a team that tanks. I don't think this team's that good.
Yeah, but I don't think
they're that good.
They're not a team that tanks, like you said.
They're not a team that tanks, but they're just – I mean, they're not even tanking. They're not good. And it comes down to it. They've whiffed on so many draft picks lately.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they've whiffed, like, completely. Like, they have not hit. I mean, they've hit on few, but, I mean, there is teams hit on draft picks every year. And you could not name, besides obviously their cornerback who's hurt right now. He's a good player.
Christian Gonzalez. Yeah.
Gonzalez, he's a great player. But besides that, I mean, offensively.
Yeah,
is
N'Keal
where it
Harry.
matters.
N'Keal Harry's not even on a team anymore.
Well, that was 5 years ago, but still, I mean, they're still just whiffing on players left and right. And I know, obviously, Belichick's going to keep on going until he gets the win record. But just, I mean, you can't fire Bill Belichick because he's the greatest ever. I mean, you can't do it. But what he is putting in the players, it just doesn't work anymore.
I mean,
and there's a lot of coaches out there in the league right now that sit and they tell the same thing, and it's not working. It's an evolving league, and if you fail to evolve, you're going to be stuck in mud. And that's what the New England Patriots are. Their offense doesn't work anymore. It was evolutionary whenever they came out in the 2000s with that 3 tight end set. No one knew what to do. But now, in this modern age NFL, the Patriots' offense is not elite, never will be elite under this current scheme. No. And ultimately, they're going to have to make a decision.
I mean, you look at the run game. First of all, don't even talk about the passing game. Your leading rusher only has 188 yards through 5 weeks. I mean,
A-Chain put up what, 200?
He almost
in one game.
He put up 200.
That's crazy.
Zach Moss almost put up $160. And your leading rusher only has 188 yards. Now, mind you, Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke are getting split carries. I mean, Ramondre has 168, and Ezekiel Elliott has 159. But still, in total, you only have 419 rushing yards total.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, the safeties are going to come down.
They're
not scared of the deep
They're
threat.
not scared of the deep ball.
They're not scared of the deep threat at all. So the safeties usually sit around 18 yards back from the line of scrimmage. Usually.
Yeah.
15 to 18. But with the Patriots, they're playing around 12 yards deep. And that obviously is going to cause the run gaps to be less.
Exactly.
Because linebackers are going to press up, causing the safeties to press up as well. If the Patriots could get some momentum, throwing it longer, they'd be better off. But will they do that? I doubt it. Ultimately, for the Patriots, I think you got to ride it out with Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a one-time Pro Bowler. He's a guy who I don't think is terrible. Put him in. If you put Mac Jones in San Fran right now,
he's terrible.
If you put Mac Jones in San Fran right now with that offensive line, that team, I think he'd be doing the same exact thing.
You could put me in that offense, and they'd be.
But
throwing 10 yards
for this current New England team and how this team is based and the scheme they're playing, Mac Jones is not the correct fit, and I do believe that his time as a New England Patriot will waddle away after this season.
Which brings me to my next point. Is Mac Jones the worst starter in the league as of right now?
No.
Really?
No.
Mm-mm. I don't think he's the worst starter.
I don't think he's the worst. I don't think he's bottom 3.
Really?
I
would pick Mac Jones over Zach Wilson.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
Over these past 2 weeks, Zach Wilson's
looked
competitive.
If you put Mac Jones in the Jets offense with that offensive line, Breece Hall,
their offensive line isn't good.
It's better than the Patriots.
It's better than the Patriots.
It is, but Elijah Vera Tucker, he's done for the year.
But
Mekhi Becton isn't good.
But yeah, I would agree. But I'm just saying, if you put him with that offense with the weapons, the Patriots have no vertical weapons.
No.
And that's the thing. They have no receiver that can take the top off.
Like
the
Kendrick
Jets have
Bourne,
Garrett Wilson. And they have other players, too. And they're not even using McCall Hardman.
Like 2 of their top 5 receiving leaders are tight ends.
Well, yeah, they're playing that 3 tight end set. And I mean, yeah, you got Mike Gesicki and
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry.
But like, whoop-de-doo.
Hunter Henry is your second leading receiver.
That's crazy.
At 176 yards. And your third is DeMario Davis.
I mean, if you look at it, though, their receiving core isn't great. I mean, Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, and then Demario Douglas is your top 3 wide receivers.
Terrible.
Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't even have 100 yards on the season.
And obviously Thornhill's a guy they drafted thinking he would be a good player.
Thornton? Oh, yeah.
He hasn't came through at all. So it's just this Patriots offense. It's bad.
It is bad.
Moving along, the Dallas Cowboys, the weekly occurrence. Everyone wants to talk about them. It's their year. How about them Cowboys? You just got smacked by the 49ers, 42-10. Dak Prescott, 3 interceptions. And this is a question everyone in the media world has been asking for a long time. Is Dak Prescott's time as the starter, as the star of the star team coming to an end?
Yes. I mean, this is a guy whose contract ends at the end of next year. He has this year and next year on his contract. So, he's not a bad quarterback. When he's turning the ball over, which he is, he's below average. He's not bad. I mean, the Cowboys are 3-2. He does some winning. He'll get you. I don't even know if I can say that he'll get you to the playoffs anymore with the Eagles in that division. But no, him himself. I'm saying like the Cowboys defense will carry.
So you're saying he can't carry a team is what you're saying?
Yeah, he can't carry a team. His defense will pick up the load. But this is a guy whose contract he has this year and next year, and he's done. After that next year, he's gone. He's got to be. This is Dak Prescott at the end of this contract. He'll be turning 32. He already has that bad ankle injury. Ever since that ankle injury, he's been awful. He's been terrible. So I think by the end of that contract, let him play out his contract. No reason to toss him under the bus yet, to throw him away yet. Let him play out his contract. But once his contract is up, get him out of there, because this is a guy that'll be going on 32 by that time, who's had some injuries. And their receiving core isn't that amazing. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is not producing the way we've wanted him to, and Brandon Cooks hasn't really looked the way he wanted to either. So, I mean.
So what do you think, to piggyback off what you just said, what do you think they should do about quarterback? Should they go draft one? Should they go sign one? Should they go trade for one?
I don't know. It's hard to tell, because if his contract was ending this year, I would say start Trey Lance next year. I would say.
Oh my God!
I mean, it's not like they traded for him for no reason.
Let's be serious here. Trey Lance sucks. Let's be honest. We
haven't seen him play.
Yeah, there's a reason he's not playing. If he was good, he'd be playing.
He didn't. Yeah, he sat his whole rookie year, second year of his career. He gets a season-ending.
Darnold. Oh my God! Let's be honest here. Bro, he couldn't even beat out Sam
Darnold. Okay, Sam Darnold was really getting high praise, though, from the San Francisco offensive coordinators.
Like, don't act like Sam Darnold's bad or anything. The Red Rocket, don't act like that's the wrong person. Don't act like Sam Darnold's bad, though. My bad, wrong person.
Sam Darnold isn't bad. I think he would be doing the same thing Brock Purdy is in that offense.
Yeah, anybody.
But Trey Lance is a bust, and ultimately, I think his career is over.
I think he's a bust in terms of where he was picked at, top 5. But I don't know if he's a bust in terms of being picked.
I haven't even seen him play yet, though.
I've never really thought high at Trey Lance.
I wasn't either.
He went to a smaller college, and he played very minimal college games. Excuse me. But Dak's time in Dallas coming to an end? No, it's not. This Dallas team's still going to win 11, 12 games. They're still going to make the playoffs. Will they go win a Super Bowl? Probably not. And I don't think it's Dak's fault. I think it's coaching. I think the coaching over there in Dallas, McCarthy, I don't like the way he coaches anymore. I think it's old, just like Belichick.
Yeah.
If these top high-powered offenses, look at who's the coaches of the top offenses in the league. You go to Miami, they have a really young, high-powered offense, and they have a really young, offensive-minded coach. You want to look at the other coaches. The Eagles with Sirianni, he's another guy, really good offensive-minded coach.
Shanahan,
really youngish, young-minded offensive coach.
McVay.
There you go, another one. McVay, obviously Steichen down in Indianapolis, now another young coach. So you got a lot of coaches who are very young and offensive-minded. And then you have the Cowboys, and there's other teams around the league with these coaches who have been around, obviously proven winners. I'm not saying that he won a Super Bowl over there in Green Bay, but it's time for them to go out and get one of these young guys. I think it's
so
coaching.
too.
I wouldn't say it's all Dak. Could Dak play better? And some of those interceptions were bad. I mean, he would just look. He didn't even make it through his progressions. He would look, first read, throw it straight to a linebacker. I mean, it wasn't bad. But let's go ahead and move it on. The Chicago Bears, a team that is 1-4. 1-4, by the way. And the question is, should the Bears go all in on winning?
Okay.
Let's be honest here.
Yes.
Okay. Justin Fields' last 2 weeks, I will give it full credit, has played phenomenal.
Probably
A
the
guy
best quarterback in the league for the past 2 weeks.
Statistically.
Yeah.
Statistically only, by the way.
Well, and eye test
Statistically
too.
only.
And eye test too. Come on.
Statistically only, by the way. Justin Fields, obviously, 4 touchdowns last week. He had 4 versus the Broncos as well. He's tied for the lead in touchdowns this year. The offense has looked better, obviously, besides the terrible start. But they're still 1-4. That's a really big hill to climb out of. Who do they play next week?
The Justin Jefferson-less Minnesota Vikings.
Well, you could mark that's going to be a good game.
At home, too, actually. That is at Soldier Field.
I mean, you just look at the division. Other than the 4-1 Lions, everybody else is basically the Packers only have 2 wins.
So
the Vikings have
ultimately,
1.
The Bears, if they want to go out and will try to win, they're going to have to go battle for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
Which is 3 spots now since the new rules. And I don't see this team battling for a wild card spot. I say they continue to lose. Do I think Justin Fields has shown enough to warrant another season as quarterback these past 2 games if he keeps it up? Correct. Yeah. I do. And with 2 top picks in the draft next year, they could completely change this franchise. They can go get, there's phenomenal defensive players and offensive line players coming through the draft. DJ Moore looks like a guy. He looks like a player. He looks like a stud these past 2 weeks, of course. Yeah. Justin Fields, these past 2 weeks, if he continues to make the reads, yes, obviously you look at the completion percentage versus the Commanders, 15 for 29, 51, 52%. You want to see that improve. 4 touchdowns is good. Fields, obviously, 57 rushing yards as well in this game versus the Commanders. He did it versus the Broncos. Obviously, they blew the lead. Defensive problems obviously caused them to blow that lead.
Yeah.
But do they continue to go out and winning? No. But do they continue to look fun and hopefully not stunt Fields' growth? Yes.
I say they do go all in on winning. This is a team that has looked amazing these past 2 weeks.
They're 1-4.
Okay, but hold on. This is a team that is building their offense like from scratch. They finally like I don't know what it was, but against the Broncos, something just clicked, and people were excited to see this Commanders game, this Thursday night game. They go out and blow the Commanders out. They make a top defense in the league look silly. Justin Fields throws for another 4 touchdown performance. Not even to mention, the Carolina Panthers are probably going to get the Bears a first overall pick. If the Bears are already going to land this high in the draft, why tank your second pick? See what you can do. See if Fields is the guy. This is Fields' make or break year. You're not just gonna tell him to not try. He is gonna try to win. This Bears team is gonna try to win, and their schedule is easy. You look at it. Their next 4 games are like the Raiders, the Saints, the Vikings. This is an easy schedule. These are winnable games if Justin Fields continues to play like this. And then, this DJ Moore Justin Fields connection is finally starting to blossom. We saw it this past week. And if the Carolina Panthers are already tanking for you, and this is Justin Fields' make or break 5th-year option pickup year, there's no reason not to try to go out and win. There's really not.
I was thinking the same thing. So, when you get a pick like the Carolina pick, and they are arguably the worst team in the league already, that gives you the freedom to be like, hey, we're already solidified a top 5 pick already. Mm-hmm. Why not go ahead? We're gaining momentum. even if we don't make the playoffs, let's at least go out and fight for a playoff spot.
Exactly.
Because what you don't want is a culture of losing.
Yeah.
You don't want a culture of losing because that first of all that doesn't get you any free agents. No free agent wants to come play for a losing franchise. That no young player wants to get drafted to a losing franchise. But if you build on what you've been doing the past 2 weeks, get more wins, even if it pushes you out of the top 10 for your pick, out of the top 10 pick. I mean, you build that culture of, hey, this is a young, fun team. Come join us, and we can build upon this for next season and then make the playoffs, even if you don't make it this year. You don't want to be a franchise that's known for losing like the Bears have been for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
No offense.
No, for sure. But, I mean, like you said, I mean, are the Bears going to go and make the playoffs?
I don't think so.
Probably not. This season is still young. I mean, if their offense continues to grow and grow, and their defense is getting turnovers like they did against the Commanders, and they just keep growing, I can see this team getting 6 or 7 wins.
Yeah, me too.
That is short of the playoffs. That means you still have the Panthers' top 3 pick probably,
and then still
and
the top 15.
and a 14th overall pick. You still have the Panthers pick to rely on. There's no reason to start tanking. The Panthers are tanking for you. This is Justin Fields' make or break year. Let him go out, see what he can prove, and try to win some games.
I agree.
All right, moving on. The Indianapolis Colts sit at a position 3-2 after picking up a victory over the Tennessee Titans 23-16 this past week. The Indianapolis Colts started the game hot, being up 10-3. Anthony Richardson had a phenomenal, I would say pretty solid first few drives. Zack Moss had a big run. The Colts are moving. Anthony Richardson rolls out right, runs about 4 yards, lands on his throwing shoulder, goes out of the game. His 4th injury. Obviously, this is the biggest in his young NFL career. Anthony Richardson now is put on a IR. He is IR, excuse me. Anthony Richardson now goes out for a minimum of a month. Gardner Minshew is now in. Do the Colts continue to win with Gardner Minshew at the helm?
I mean, he's won all the games the Colts have won this year. I mean, he's gone out and finished all the games. I mean, I haven't really watched too much of the Colts this year, but has Anthony Richardson, out of the 3 wins the Colts have, was it Anthony Richardson was it Anthony Richardson finishing out the game?
No, none of the 3 wins Anthony Richardson was in for at least the final quarter.
So, I mean, there you go. Gardner Minshew can win you games. Will he be a playoff QB? Probably not. But by that time, you will have Anthony Richardson back.
The Colts just want to stay afloat while Richardson's out. Obviously, I would say Richardson is the better quarterback than Minshew, I think, in all versions of the game. I think the Colts have a better chance to win with Richardson in. Do I think Minshew is more of a professional? Yeah.
I think Minshew's more of a game manager.
I would agree.
Than Richardson.
Richardson more can make those highlight plays and kind of push you towards being a great team. The Indianapolis Colts were looking really up going into the weekend. Jonathan Taylor signs a big extension. He suits up. Obviously, didn't play much. They're going to work him back into the offense. Zack Moss shows he is still an elite running back in this league. So far this season, he's top 5 in rushing so far. 2 touchdowns rushing in this game, 165. He also almost had 200 total yards. The Colts are a team that faces a very, very easy schedule for the remainder of the year. I would say the only elite quarterback they play for the remainder of the season is Joe Burrow. They have a very easy schedule that contains of teams such as the Browns, the Saints, and other teams like that. Teams that are good, but not great. The Colts can easily mess around and win the AFC South. I think one of their biggest tests is next week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. If they go win in Jacksonville, I'd say the Colts are the betting favorite by far to win the division. If they go out and lose to Jacksonville, I think it's going to be a dogfight for the remainder of the year.
I mean, you look at the next 4 games that AR is out for the Colts. You go to Jacksonville for the first game. I mean, that's either or. That's a 50-50. You can toss up the coin about who can win that. I mean, right now, I
Guaranteed loss.
not guaranteed loss, not yet.
I'm joking.
Maybe. I mean, we aren't playing in Jacksonville, but the Jags did just beat the Bills, so the Jags should be the favorite. Then you play the Browns. The Browns have inconsistencies on offense, especially with Nick Chubb being out. So you can toss it up as well about who can win that.
I would. I'd chalk that up to the Colts.
And then you play the Saints. That's another team with a little bit of inconsistencies. That's still a winnable game.
Is Carr playing?
Yeah, Carr will be playing. Yeah.
I don't know. That's close.
That's still, I mean, the Colts defense is playing on another level right now. So I think all of these games are winnable. And then you play the Panthers, who are the worst team in the league, arguably. And then you have the bye week after that. So that's 5 weeks where you can really win all 4 games, and you have a bye, and an AR should be back if he doesn't need surgery or if he doesn't need extra time, if he's just getting out those 4 weeks on IR. So you go into there, you're already 3-2. You can come out maybe 6-3, 7-3 maybe. Well, hold on.
7-3 is great.
I'm
not gonna lie.
Okay, so you could go 7-3 because
it could,
because you can really win against the Jags, Browns, Saints, and
I think
Panthers.
the Colts could be 7-3. I do.
We can really be 7-3. So, and then AR comes back. Then they play the Panthers. I mean, not Panthers. They play the Patriots, then the Buccaneers, then the Titans, and then the Bengals. I mean, that's not a hard schedule.
It's not.
So I think that the Colts will really stay afloat even with AR out, because Gardner Minshew has shown time and time again this season that he is a game manager, and that when he's called upon, he will win you games. He might not win you playoff games, but he'll win you regular season games by being a game manager. So I think that the Colts will win the AFC South.
Looking at the schedule, it's tearing me apart because you go to Jacksonville. Here's my predictions, just me. I think they will go into Jacksonville and lose. It'll be close. They'll put up a fight, but they'll lose. They haven't won there in 7 years. The Browns, they'll beat. They have that at home. The Saints, I don't know. The Saints looked very good before Derek Carr got hurt. Very good. Which the Saints probably will have Derek Carr, I say they lose. So they're what? Hold on. So 4. No, okay, hold on. 3-3.
4-3.
4-3.
4-4.
4-4. They beat the Panthers.
So
that's
5-4.
Beat the Patriots.
That's
6-4. The Buccaneers, I don't know.
It's a toss-up game.
It's a toss-up.
But as of right now, I think that the Colts should.
They should.
They shouldn't be the favorites, but they can become the favorites if they win at Jacksonville this week against Jacksonville at Jacksonville. They should be the betting favorites to win the AFC South.
Well, they'll have. By the time they play the Buccaneers, they'll have Richardson back.
Yeah.
Okay, so while Richardson's gone, I think they'll end up 6-4 with Gardner Minshew.
I think that's a possibility.
Which is very, very good for
which
a team
is
that
very good for their
nobody expected to
circumstances.
win more than 5 games.
No, people were talking about we were going to be the worst team in the league.
You guys were supposed to get Marvin Harrison at number 3.
Yeah,
next
exactly.
And that's not going to happen. I think
That's
the
not gonna
Colts are a
happen.
playoff team with the offensive line looks phenomenal.
Kelly.
Ryan Kelly, probably statistically the best center in the league.
Oh,
yeah, right
this
now.
season,
He is.
What a great bounce back. Obviously, the receiving core, Josh Downs, a rookie, has came in, looked good. Pittman's picked up where he is, a true number 1 receiver, I'd say. Maybe just a really good 1A, 1B receiver down the line for a championship team, but I would say he's a 1 so far this season. Obviously, Zach Moss playing well. Jonathan Taylor coming back in the fold. Zaire Franklin hasn't been mentioned yet. Leading the league in tackles.
I think he's the best linebacker in the league.
Statistically, if he continues up for the rest of the season, going to break the NFL record for most tackles in a season by a big margin, by the way, like 36 tackles. The Colts' defensive line probably is, at least against the run, top 5. Obviously, secondary is probably their most lackluster part of their team. Obviously, 2 rookie corners starting out wide. Kenny Moore on the slot. Decent safeties. Even though Blackman had a phenomenal game versus the Titans, had a 90 Pro Football Focus rating grade or whatever it's called. So this team, I think they're destined to be a playoff team possibly, but it really depends how they play in this next month.
Yeah.
And
So we could be having a conversation in a month now and having it not be a thing.
I do want to rephrase myself real quick. He's not the best linebacker in the league,
yeah, that was crazy.
but because he's not the greatest coverage linebacker in the league. Even though he does get pass breakups, he's not the greatest coverage linebacker in the league. He gets lost out there sometimes. But run defense linebacker, he's got to be up there. He's got to be up there.
He's up there. He's not the best.
He's really taken over the spot of Shaquille
Shaquille Leonard.
I think it's Fred Warner.
But Fred Warner mostly plays coverage. He's not really a blitzer like Zaire is.
I mean, he forced a fumble this past week on Tony Pollard, who's a top 5 rusher in the league. I mean,
but he's more of a coverage than
He's a coverage linebacker.
than a blitzer. Zaire's more of a blitzer.
But he can run stop. That's what's.
But that's
so
on
good
like
about
called
Warner.
blitzes though. So I mean,
I don't know.
go ahead and move on.
Moving on. The AFC North, a division that a lot of people look at. Obviously, a division that's always tight. And it's a division that right now is looking quite interesting, to say the least. The Pittsburgh Steelers currently lead the division at 3-2. The Ravens 3-2 as well. The Browns 2-2, obviously having their bye last week. And the Bengals starting out 0-3, now 2-3. Who is the favorite right now to win this division?
The Bengals.
You think it's the Bengals?
The Bengals.
You really think it's the Bengals?
Yeah. Yes.
Sitting at 2-3?
Yes.
Because how they played last week? It's the Cardinals though. And I know they beat the Rams the week before.
No.
But that's the Cardinals.
It'll be the Bengals.
I'm saying it's still the Ravens. I think the Ravens defense is legit. It's better than the Bengals defense.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson's playing really good football right now. His team. The only thing about the Ravens though, they can't stay healthy. You look at their injury report week in, week out. There's at least 10 dudes on there. Odell can't stay healthy. One of their linemen is always hurt for games. They never have their full starting O-line. That's the only thing about the Ravens. But I still think with Lamar Jackson, anything's possible.
I mean, I feel like the Ravens are. Here's the issue with the Ravens. Injuries are a big issue for them, let alone their inconsistencies. I mean, this is a team who lost to the Colts at home. A Colts team starting Gardner Minshew. They lose to the Steelers in an absolute defensive battle. Lamar couldn't do anything that game. The Steelers defense had them in a box. The Browns, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on them. They might be my least favorite to win this division. They're not going to do anything. Deshaun Watson's not looking great. The defense is good, but the offense is too. I mean, really, the Bengals. Looking at this division, the Bengals are really the only team that is on the up in this division. They have a 2-game winning streak. They're finding Jamar Chase. They're finding T. Higgins. This Joe Burrow's coming back from this calf injury. They're starting to boot up like the Bengals we've seen the past 3 years. The Bengals will win the division. They are the most, whenever healthy, which Joe Burrow is getting healthy, they are the most consistent team in this division by far. And this is still a young season. I mean, we're looking at their record 3-2, 3-2, 2-2, 2-3. Those are all one game. That's a 1-game difference from first and last place. So we're still young in the season. Going forward, it is all about consistency. If the Bengals are healthy, they are by far the most consistent team in this division. They will win the AFC North.
I mean, that's a good take. Obviously, you look at the Bengals and, well, you're going to pick the team with the best quarterback to win the division. It's just obvious. The Steelers' offense, I wouldn't trust them to do anything.
Exactly.
No.
They beat the Ravens, whoop-de-doo, but, like,
Fire Matt Canada.
that offense coordinator is terrible. I mean, that offense as a whole is terrible. They have no running game. I don't think Kenny Two Gloves is the solution either.
No.
He played okay versus the Ravens, but I don't think he's a great quarterback. I'd say he's bottom 6, bottom 8 in the league at quarterback. The Ravens, you look at them, and Lamar Jackson's been kind of inconsistent so far this year. He's had a fumble problem. Their offense has looked lackluster at times. Their defense keeps on giving up big touchdowns. Their cornerbacks are unhealthy at times. Marlon Humphrey is a guy who should be a top 5 corner in this league and hasn't played up to it this season. The Browns probably have the best defense in this division, but their offense is iffy at times since losing Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson is a guy who obviously he's been hurt at times this season. So you look at it, obviously any team can win it. I would have to agree that the Bengals are the favorite right now, but it really just depends. It's still a really young season. All these teams are still mixed together.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 600 to 400 win percentages. I mean, a week could go by and all these teams could be 3-3.
The other thing about it, too, is like every single time these division teams have played each other, it hasn't been close, except for this recent Ravens-Steelers game. I mean, the Ravens blew out the Browns a couple weeks ago, I believe, something like that. And then the Bengals, I mean, they lost their first 3 games, but they're finally on the up. The Steelers, don't even get me. I mean, they lost to okay, don't get me wrong, a very good C.J. Stroud-led Texans offense, 30-6. I don't know. I think it's got to be the Bengals. It's at this point in the season, it's all about consistency.
So moving along to our final big topic of the day. What should the Vikings do now? The Minnesota Vikings sit in a situation where they're 1-4. Their superstar receiver just got put on IR and possibly could be missed more than 4 games. They're a team that was playoff bound. Their quarterbacks in every single NFL commercial. They thought the Vikings were going to be that team this year. They're 1-4, and the real question is, what do the Vikings do now?
I think you got to trade Big Kirko at this point.
Big Kirko.
Trade?
Yeah.
I'd say just this is the last year of his contract.
I mean, but do you want to let him walk? You want to get some value out of him? Because I bet some team out there will throw you like a 5th. Some team will throw you a 5th.
That's not
well,
bad.
you'd get more than a 5th. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that.
I feel like Kirk Cousins is probably worth like a
4th?
I'd say a 2nd. I mean, if you're the New York Jets, you toss a 2nd in the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say
if you're
3rd.
desperate enough.
If you're the
It
Jets,
seemed like the Jets or the Falcons that are desperate. I would say he's a second. I would say second is a steep price.
I say a conditional 3rd that can turn into a 2nd, maybe. But I wouldn't just flat out give him a 2nd for Kirk Cousins. I think you can stretch it to get him for a conditional 3rd.
I don't know. I just think the Vikings are a team that has a lot of good players on their squad, a lot of older guys, obviously Harrison Smith. And I think the Vikings, if let's say they lose this week versus the Bears, I think you sell. I think you sell everything that you have, the value that's older. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, Harrison Smith, 2 guys off the top of the mind.
Danielle Hunter,
another guy who's phenomenal. He's a little bit on the young side. You probably want to keep him. But there's a lot of guys, a lot of teams that would be interested in Kirk Cousins because he's a top 15 quarterback.
Yeah,
he's a fringe top 10.
He can win you some games.
So obviously, this Vikings team isn't what everyone thought they'd be, which sucks. But if they lose this week, Jefferson's out. I think you look to sell and try to rebuild and build on hopefully next season with a different quarterback.
I mean, it's tough because, okay, so last year, I mean, this is a team that made the playoffs. Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, they made the playoffs.
They made the playoffs, and
they lost to the Giants.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so they make the playoffs, but the Vikings weren't they like 8-2 in 1-score games, something like that. Every game was
and
close.
This year they're not closing it out.
Yeah, every game was close, and they barely won it. And then this year they're finally starting to, not finish games out. I don't know what it is, but they just can't finish it out. And now they're 1-4. Justin Jefferson's on IR. Nobody knows what the future will hold for him. He probably won't even want to be in this franchise by the offseason if they're going to continue to keep doing this losing.
So do you think Justin Jefferson requests a trade?
I mean, it's happened before with Viking receivers, but I think I think obviously he can get the most guaranteed money over there in Minnesota. I think he'll do it.
Yeah.
I think obviously not yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if midseason next year, if let's say they have a bad quarterback or stay with Cousins, they're still not winning. I could see it, but not right now.
Yeah.
But moving along to one of our final segments, obviously, games of the week next week. Week in the same sentence twice. Oh my! But we have some big ones. Seahawks versus Bengals. The Bengals, obviously, a team that's been hotter of late. The Seahawks 3-1. A surprise? I mean, not really. I mean, people say they're a surprise team, but this team was a good team last year. So an interesting game, and I would say that's one of the highlight games of the week.
I mean, the Bengals and Seahawks. This is a Bengals team that's on a 2-game win streak, playing against a 3-1 Seahawks team. That's good. Don't get me wrong, but the Bengals. I think the Bengals will win this game. They've proven that they're starting to get better these past couple weeks. Joe Burrow's starting to get healthier and healthier. His connection with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon is starting to grow. They're starting to get a lot more people involved in the offense, and I think they will beat the Seahawks. Now, this is a very good Seahawks team. They're 3-1. But this is a Bengals team that is very confident coming in. They have it at home, I believe. Is it at home for the Bengals? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, it is. It's at home for the Bengals. I think the Bengals come out with this one, but it'll be a dogfight for sure.
Of course, if you want to see our game predictions, make sure to look at our Instagram and Twitter. We're going to be posting each game this week, game predictions going into the game beforehand. So make sure to follow us on all social medias, Roll the Tape Pods, every single social media, and obviously you'll see our game picks. Going along to the second game of the week, we pick 3 every week to be our games of the week. And next, we're going to be the Eagles versus the Jets. The Jets are a team that's finally starting to figure it out a little bit on offense. The Eagles 5-0.
So for this game, I think it really it's the battle of defenses this game, because the Eagles defense obviously, if not the best in the league, and the Jets defense is right behind them, top 3 defense in the league. So you're going to be looking at a battle of defenses and a battle of run games. Maybe not so much for the Eagles, but for the Jets, if you want to win this game, you got to find a way to get Breece Hall the ball. Either whether that's screen passes, whether that's outside zones, inside zones, or any type of combination of, motions to get Breece Hall open in open field and get him to the second level. You got to do it, because you don't beat the Eagles with Zach Wilson throwing the ball 30 times, 40 times.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. So you got to find a way to beat the Eagles through the run game, but which is hard because they have arguably the best defensive line in the league.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going to have to pick the Eagles in this one just because of the advantages, especially with Elijah Vera Tucker going on IR, season ending. What is it, ACL?
Something like that. Something in the knee, I'm pretty sure.
So season ending, that's your starting guard. So I'm going to have to pick the Eagles in this one because I don't think Zach Wilson throwing the ball 30 times is going to win you a game.
I agree. I think the Eagles will probably run away with this one.
Yeah, I'd say the Eagles as well. Moving along to the final game of the week, Cowboys versus the Chargers. The Chargers, a high-powered offense, a team that's kind of still, past few years they've been, the Chargers are going to be this next great team. And, well, they're not. They're just mid, to say the least. But this is obviously Monday Night Football. So it's going to be exciting. The Cowboys, a team that just got smacked, versus the 49ers. How will they respond? So it's going to be an interesting one to look at. Chargers coming off a bye. Cowboys coming off a tough loss. Monday Night Football should be a good one. Now let's go to starts and sits of the week.
The routine.
The fantasy players rejoice.
Yep.
But let's get into it. I'm going to say my start is going to be Matthew Stafford. And obviously, Stafford might be available in some leagues if you're playing a 10-man league. Some people don't carry 2 QBs on their roster. Obviously, if you're playing a 16 to 18-person league, he's probably on a roster, I'd assume. But Matthew Stafford's a guy who, obviously, Cooper Kupp is back on that offense. Puka's another player. Obviously, Williams out of the backfield as well. So Stafford playing a Cardinals defense that is not that good. QBs so far this year have played very well versus the Cardinals. I think Stafford has himself a day. And Derrick Henry, going up against a really tough Ravens defense. Henry struggled against the Colts defense, only having 40-something yards. So I'd say bench Derrick Henry.
My fantasy starts and sits of Week 6 of the NFL. Can't believe we're already in Week 6, by the way.
Yeah, it's flying by.
Flown by. My start is going to be the man of the hour, DJ Moore. 230 receiving yards last week, 8 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Him and Justin Fields are connecting on a different level right now. They're playing a burnt-out Minnesota Vikings defense. This is a secondary that is ranked 27th in the NFL. And I think the Bears are going to be playing from ahead. I think DJ Moore is going to get a lot of targets early, and they're starting to implement him more in the offense, and it's working, as we saw last week versus the Commanders. My sit the Seahawks wide receivers. The Bengals are firing on all ends so far recently over these past 2 weeks. The Bengals will be playing from ahead, I believe. Geno Smith I don't know if he's going to be too good against this Bengals secondary who has been hot as of late. I don't know. I'm not really putting much faith in Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. DK Metcalf is consistent, but he's not going to drop you a 20 bomb. I would say sit the Seahawks wide receivers for Week 6.
And for my starts and sits of the week, I've got to say start Puka Nacua. Now, some of y'all may be like, hold on. Cooper Kupp's back. But you look at last week, and he still dropped 20 points on the Eagles.
More than Cooper Kupp.
And the Eagles defense is not no slouch. That's arguably one of the best secondaries in the league. So you got to start Puka Nacua. And for my sit, this pains me as a Colts fan, but I got to sit Jonathan Taylor. They're going to ramp him up this week from reports, but he's still not going to get the bulk of the snaps.
Yeah.
It's still probably going to be a Zach Moss, most of the carries, 60%, maybe even 70% of the carries. So I'm saying sit Jonathan Taylor. But next week, though, I might have to put Jonathan Taylor as a start.
Yeah, a lot of people, including me in the league, I have Zach Moss on my team, and I benched him thinking Taylor would get the bulk of the reps, and he did not.
He did
Moss
not.
had himself a day.
6 rushes for 16 yards.
But obviously,
Yeah.
they're going to work him through, and I think every week he will continue to grow as a player, and I think by week 8, week 9, he'll probably be starting and probably receiving 20 carries a game.
Of course.
But, of course, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening. It's been fun. Episode 3. Next week, we are going to officially start bringing in NBA, as the NBA season is right around the corner.
Yes,
NBA
sir.
preseason obviously happening this week. So next week, be on the lookout. NBA is going to be in our discussions as well. It's been fun. Until next time, this has been the Roll the Tape podcast.
Yes, sir.